Bartvfx is exploding on Instagram and is gaining thousands of views with his unique 3D editing style. In this video, I will break down his video editing techniques and we will recreate this. Alright, to make it easy, I have divided it into different small chapters and we will create different scenes in those chapters. So, in the first scene, here will be our talking head shot and then text would come in. And the second scene would be this ghost scene. Alright, so now let's set this scene up. For this, I have created this sequence and these are the assets files or the exercise files. You can use them. Let me drop this on the timeline and select keep existing settings and scale this up and fit the frame. Alright, so now let's see this and cut the starting part. And let me mute the sound as it would be distracting. We only need part where it says you. It was very short part which was visible in the original reel. So let me cut it and drag the rest part away in the timeline. And now come above in the effects control panel. Add a scale keyframe here and scale it a little bit more. And move the playhead a little bit further and scale it down. That will add another keyframe. And this will zoom out something like this. And here we will write our text. You can take simple text, or if you have installed the Premiere Composer free plugin, then in the starter pack and inside text presets folder, we will use this one, fade characters and position and rotation preset. Let's add star on these so that we can easily find them. Now drag and drop the first one on the timeline above the talking head clip. Now adjust its length and from here in the Premiere Composer and then edit. Click on the text and change the text to you and change the font to Unisense Bold and increase its size. And click to make it all caps and text size is 186 and let's play it. Text is not fully visible and it is very slow. So we need to turn off out animation by unchecking this and let's play it again, but text is still not fully visible. So increase the speed to 241 and now it is visible. Now let's move the text little down, click on the transform and change this Y position a little bit to adjust it down and adjust it even further and now it's perfect. So our first scene is set up and in the last, see, it fades out to black. Now select these two and press Ctrl or Command plus D. That would add the default transition cross fade to these. Now adjust it to the small part and it fades or dissolves here and now it is the time for our next scene. In the second scene, first add this room image here and scale it up and fill the frame. Move its position something here where we see the laptop and now drop the ghost image on it. I have already removed its background. Adjust its scale and position according to the scene. Now scene is set up, so it's time to animate this. Let's see the original reel, how it was done. The ghost slides up here and the text also slides in. And the background room is also sliding up a little bit along with these. So now let's select both of these and go to the effects panel and search for transform 360 effect. If you don't have it, then it is simple transform effect and I have changed some of its settings which I will tell you later. Now drop this one on both of the layers. Select the room layer and right click and choose rename and change the name so that we can easily identify both of them. Now come to the effects control panel, select the room layer, come down to the transform 360 effect. This is the transform effect and we have unchecked this use composition shutter angle and change the shutter angle to 360, which will add motion blur and saved it as a preset. Add the position keyframe and move it little further. Move the playhead in the start and change the Y position to move it little down, but we need to scale it little bit more. See what we have done in the beginning we have moved the position little down, and after few frames we have moved it up. Let me turn off the ghost layer. This is how it looks. Now select both the keyframes and select Auto Bezier and click on the position arrow. Now grab the last handle and make it something like this. This will make the animation go fast in the beginning and slow in the end. Now let's see the preview. Great. Now turn on the ghost layer. It's time to animate it. Since this would be the final position, keep the playhead on the final position and add a position keyframe. Now move the playhead in the beginning and move the Y position down to make the ghost out of the frame. This will add another keyframe. Let's see the preview. But it comes very fast, so move the second keyframe little away. Now see it again. Great, it's perfect now. Now select both the keyframes and select Auto Bezier and change the graph similar to the last one. If we see the preview with this, how it looks. But there is one issue with this. The cross dissolve transition is not looking good here. So select this transition and delete it. Now go to the effects panel and find dip to black. You will find this under the dissolve. Now drop this on the center of both the clips and make the duration small. Now if we see the preview, this one is perfect now, just like the original. See, now it's time to add the text on this. So go to the Premiere Composer and this time we will use this preset, which is position and rotation. Now drop it on the ghost and see the original. The moment ghost comes in, the text also arrives. So here it is, and change some settings of this text. Turn off the out animation by unchecking it and change the text to can. Now we need to animate its position. Select it and in the effects control panel under the motion, add a keyframe on the position and move playhead in the beginning of the text and change the X position to move it on the right side. Now let's see the preview. Okay, now let's move the text little bit down. So on the first keyframe, change the Y position to move it down and see the preview. Good. Now let's change the keyframe graphs to like this as we did earlier and lower the distance of these keyframes like this, and it is good. Okay, let's move it little back so that it comes with the ghost itself and change the starting position to little down. Let's see the preview. It is as good as the original. Good. And now there would be a flash transition after this. So this scene is also ready. I feel the text is little bit small, so let's scale it up. See the preview. Text will be up to here, so we will cut the rest. Now here will be our flash transition. So create a new color matte from the project panel. Change the color to white. Now drop it on the top and adjust its length for around 1 second. Okay, now here we will set up our next scene. Here the room image is the same and only the ghost will not be there. Here it will be zoom in and then the text will come in and it will go down. Now extend the room layer. Now see, this one is static here, so go to the effects control panel. Add one keyframe on the position and we will keep the same position and drag this keyframe little back. Add one keyframe on the scale, move it little back and here increase the scale and move the scale keyframe little bit more away. Now see the preview. Now make the graphs of these keyframes like that also. Now let's see the preview. It will flash and then it will zoom in and soon here will be our text. So we will duplicate the first text presets while pressing and holding Alt or Option and dragging it here. Now make one more duplicate of this doing the same. Double click on the top layer, it will open up the Premiere Composer and change the text and change the font to Unisense Book. Adjust its size and position and change the bottom text to strategy and adjust its scale and position also. Now let's see the preview. Move these text position little bit up. On the bottom, we need to add accent. For this one, we will take this brush stroke and place it on the top and make it small. Go to the effects control panel and change the Y position to move it below the text. Scale it down and adjust rotation and position even further. Now drop transform 360 effect on this, and in the effects control panel uncheck uniform scale. And the moment text comes in, it will be completely visible here. So keep the playhead here and add a keyframe on the scale width and move the playhead in the beginning and change the scale to 0. Now see the preview. But the problem is that it is scaling up from the center, but we want it to be from the left side. So select the anchor point and move the small circles on the left here. Now see the preview. Let's adjust the keyframe once again. Now change the graphs of these keyframes also. Let's see the preview again. Okay, great. If we see the original, the room is little darker. So select the room, lower down its opacity something like this. And after flash, we will make it more dark. So make a cut here and lower down the opacity even further. Let's see the preview. Now after this text, it will go down like the original one. So for this, we need to start the transition here. For this, take a new adjustment layer and drop it on the top. Adjust its length. Drop the transform 360 effect on it. Add a keyframe on the position in the beginning and move the playhead little further and change the Y position to move it out of the frame. Now see the preview. Great, but it is too fast. So move the last keyframe little away. Now change these keyframes graphs like this, but this time we will drag the first handle. So this will go slow and fast. Now see the preview. If you want, you can expand it and move the last keyframe even further. Now our next scene would come in. Let's create that. Take the prison image and scale it to adjust the frame. Now bring the character in. I have already removed its background and applied the halftone effect on it in the Photoshop. You will find this in the exercise files. The moment this goes down, the character should slide down from the top. Select both of these and bring down the character a little bit. Now trim down the adjustment layer and take a new adjustment. Use the last one we created. Drop it here and trim it down. And apply transform 360 effect on this. Move the playhead to the final position and add a position keyframe and go in the start and adjust Y position to make it out of the frame. Now see the preview. And if you feel it is too fast, then extend the adjustment layer and move the last keyframe little away. Now make the graph like this so that the transition becomes smooth. Let's see. The moment it comes down, it is going to zoom in. See? So extend the adjustment layer and add a keyframe on the scale and drag it back. And here it will start zooming in. So let's increase the scale a little bit around 130. Now see the preview. Extend this keyframe and make the graph like this by grabbing the first handle this time so that it goes slow and then fast. Now let's play it. Good. Here will be our text. Use the last used text preset. Duplicate them by pressing Alt or Option and move these a little bit on the left side. Now change and customize the text according to the original scene. Text should be behind the character. So move the character above and see the preview. Good. Extend the adjustment layer. Now text needs to be scaled down. Let's see original, and in this character is little on the lower side. So adjust that, and the background is also dark. So lower down the opacity even further to make the text more visible. And if we see the original, the moment text comes in, it goes out or zoom out and then comes our next scene. He has used the Unisense bold italic text, so we can change to that also. Now here character will zoom out, so let's extend both the text. Now select the adjustment layer and in the effects control panel add a scale keyframe here and move it little back and scale it down. Now see the preview. Now here we will add the flash transition which we have created earlier. Duplicate it by pressing Alt or Option, and if you want, change the blend mode to screen and lower down the opacity to make it more amazing. Now comes the next scene. Here the moment it flashes, the next text comes and background becomes blur. Select the adjustment layer and select the zoom out scale keyframe and drag it to the end. Now let's scale it down even further, something like this. So delete the earlier keyframe and move this keyframe in the end. Now let's see the preview. Here the moment it goes back, the text comes in. And soon after the flash, our character becomes out of focus. So let's add a cut on the adjustment layer and add Gaussian blur effect on it and increase its blurriness to around 38. Now see the preview. Here our next text will come in. So extend the adjustment layer and the text layers a little more. Let's see the original. This has the text which we have used earlier, this one. Let's duplicate this and bring on the top, this time above adjustment layer. Here comes our text and extend the other layers also. Select the adjustment layer and inside the transform effect, move the scale keyframe to the end. Now see the preview. Good, this scene is also ready. Now see the original. Here our text will come zoom out. Use any tech background since I did not find the original or the exact one, but we can use this. So lower down its opacity and add Gaussian blur on this and increase the blurriness so that the text becomes more visible. Let's make the background even darker. Go to the Lumetri colors panel. In the basic correction, lower down the exposure, increase the contrast and lower down the black. If you want, you can play with the RGB curves and make it something like this. Now take a simple text. For that, press T and type the text and change the font to Unisense Heavy Bold Italic. Customize it accordingly. Now we need to animate this text. So select the text layer and drop Transform 360 effect and in the start add 300 scale keyframe and move the playhead few frames ahead and reset it back to 100. Just remember, if you add scale value more than 300, it will give you error file rendering. This is the issue with the Premiere Pro. Now select both the keyframes and change the graph to something like this. Now let's see the preview. See the original, when text comes in, it will fade out and the next text will start. So move the last keyframe little back, add a keyframe on the opacity and move this keyframe little back and move playhead few frames ahead and lower down the opacity to 0. Now see the preview. Where it fades away, add a cut on the text layer and then remove the remaining part. If we see the original, okay, let's extend this text and add a cut where it fades out. Remove all the keyframes by clicking on the stopwatch on scale and opacity by changing it to 100%. Change the text on the bottom. So we will take this text and change the text and font to Unisense Bold Italic and adjust the position accordingly. But this text starts from this side where we want this to start from the reverse side. So we will check the reverse order. Now see the preview. Trim down the background. Let's see it again. Now this looks good. Now comes the next scene. Here we need to add brush stroke transition. Since at the time of recording I have not found it exact transition, so we will be using this. But now I have found it, so you will find this in the exercise folder. Drag it on the top and increase its speed by pressing R and trim it down. Now this is horizontal but we need vertical. So change the rotation to 90 degree and scale it to fit. And change the blend mode to screen. Now see the preview. And here will come our talking head. Take the last part and drop it here. Trim it down and add the text. So duplicate the previous one and change the text and scale it down to something like this. Change the font to Unisense Heavy. Now see the preview. It's almost complete, but here the headshot zooms in a little bit. If we see the original, select the headshot layer and add a scale keyframe and move playhead little further and scale it something like this. If it is too much, scale it back. Now move the text little lower side, so in the effects control panel move the Y position down. So here comes our text, and that's it. There is one more thing left. We need to add glow to all these texts. So drop the VR glow effect on the text layer and lower down the luma threshold and adjust the glow radius, etc. Now copy the effects to all the text layer. Let's see the final preview. This one is looking great. You can add whooshes and other sound effects to make it more amazing. If you have any question related to this and need any help, join our Telegram group, link in the description. And if you want more Reels editing tricks, then check out this playlist.